Welcome back to Super String. Today I will show you a 2018 parody film named Hello Mr. Billionaire. Spoilers ahead. Look out and fare thee well. Couple Yu Wang is a 37-year-old goalkeeper for small-time soccer group Daxiang who hasn't had an extremely fruitful profession. In the beyond couple of years, he's chomped a rival and gotten removed from the game for it, played for a female group, while claiming to be a lady, functioned as a human sushi plate, and, surprisingly, demonstrated with no garments for painters. At the point when Mr. Jin calls him to eat with him, Duo Yu believes he's going to be enlisted to a more effective group, yet all at once it's entirely the inverse. Mr. Jin needs to pay him, so Duo Yu will lose his next match intentionally. However, he turns down the proposition, making sense of he detests misrepresentation, and for this, he will not permit the other group to make even one objective. Whenever the day of the match comes, in any case, Duo Yu gets presumptuous and occupied in the wake of getting only one ball, permitting the contrary group to score 5 objectives against him. The other group's players even hurl him in festival for having lost with such ease to them. In the wake of being removed from the group, a discouraged Duo Yu would rather not leave his condo. However, his partner and dearest companion Qiang Zhuang visits him and hauls him out to take him to converse with the mentor, promising he'll land his position back. However, his arrangement turns out poorly. The mentor cares very little about taking Duo Yu back and thinks a canine is as of now a preferred goalkeeper over he at any point was. Whenever Qiang Zhuang takes steps to leave on the off chance that Duo Yu isn't wanted back, the mentor giggles and releases him, considering losing the two of them simultaneously something incredible for the group. Returning home, while halting the vehicle at a red light, a traffic extortionist professes to have been hit by them. Since he won't concede he's acting, Duo Yu and Qiang Zhuang snatch him, knock him against the vehicle multiple times, and even utilize his body to clean the vehicle window. A young lady Xia Zhu abruptly sees them and calls them menaces, recording everything with her telephone and bringing over additional individuals to be observers, not accepting the extortionist clarification since she got them with their hands in the treat container. This detains the two of them in prison. The one to pay for their bail is Mr. Jin, who tells Duo Yu he isn't really engaged with the soccer business and their gathering a few days ago had just been a test. He takes them to his office and, subsequent to advising Qiang Zhuang to stand by outside, he acquaints Duo Yu with Mr. Yin and Mr. Lai of Guangming Trust Fund. The three men make sense of for Duo Yu that his granddad had a sibling that dropped out with his family and lost contact, making everybody think he was dead. However, he died barely a month ago. Yu is the sole successor to his fortune. However, to have the option to get the cash, he needs to finish an assessment, which his subsequent granddad makes sense of through a video he recorded prior to passing on. Yu should burn through 2 billion yuan in 1 month, and assuming he's fruitful, he'll get the remainder of his second granddad's cash, 30 billion yuan. However, there are a few circumstances. The cash should be spent lawfully. He can't have any resources left toward the month's end. He can't get gifts or give cash to noble cause. All cash should be spent on himself. He can employ dependent upon 100 individuals, yet he should acknowledge the assistance they give. He can't annihilate any important stuff he could purchase. He can't offer up to overabundance the costs of the market, and he can't tell anybody of this game. In the event that his grandson can't take the test, the elderly person has added a quitter proviso. Duo Yu has the choice to take 10 million yuan and leave, as though nothing occurred, and that implies the fortune would remain in the trust reserve for Mr. Yin and Mr. Lai to utilize, or acknowledge the demand, which could leave him with nothing assuming he loses. Yu takes the test, so Mr. Jin illuminates him. He'll screen him for the next month to ensure he observes the guidelines and allots one of his organization bookkeepers to him to monitor his costs. This bookkeeper ends up being Xia Zhu, who would rather not work for him after what she saw in the city, yet Duo Yu chooses to recruit her in any case as retribution for sending him to prison. Thereafter, Duo Yu takes Qiang Zhuang with him, and together they go to the vault to see the cash, practically passing out when they see such countless bills together in one room. On out of the manage an account with sacks loaded with cash, Duo Yu as of now begins spending it by recruiting every one of the gatekeepers working there by promising them inordinate compensations. Subsequent to leasing a few vehicles too, Duo Yu goes to see his old soccer group and illuminates them. He'll lease them and a group from the significant association, the Hengtai, to play against them in the future after he's finished fixing the entire arena. The group doesn't trust he's rich now and chuckles at him, so to come to his meaningful conclusion, Duo Yu makes a tractor come over and drop a lot of cash in the soccer field. The entire group joins Duo Yu in his vehicles, in spite of the fact that when they take the street, he travels solo with Xia Zhu to attempt to hit on her. However, she illuminates him. She as of now has a beau, a speaker and teacher, that discussions about spreading positive energy and couldn't care less about cash. In no time subsequently, they come to an extremely extravagant lodging that requires enrollment. However, Duo Yu just discussions to the chief and offers him additional cash to permit them to lease the whole inn for the entire month. And seeing the crazy measure of cash he offers, the administrator acknowledges prior to taking them to the lounge area for a celebratory feast. This falls under the principles, since Duo Yu is permitted to purchase things for his workers, and he's leasing the group now. During supper, Duo Yu reports he'll be opening another venture organization, and the CEO will be Qiang Zhuang, who is exceptionally moved by the signal, since he doesn't know Duo Yu picked somebody who isn't brilliant intentionally, so he can lose him cash. From that point on, Duo Yu begins burning through however much cash as could be expected, from a $1 million hairstyle to leasing garments, furniture, and vehicles, which befuddles Xia Zhu on the grounds that purchasing these things would be less expensive. She brings up that going on like this, he'll lose everything in around 50% of a year, which is excessively quick for her taste, however excessively delayed for his, yet he can't tell her this. At that point, Xia Zhu's Bo Jianan Liu shows up to take her with him to his talk about not being captives of cash. Subsequent to turning down the proposal of a beverage, Jianan enlightens Duo Yu regarding his talk, unfortunately hasn't sold any tickets. Pair Yu snatches some cash from his safe and gets them all for his group, immediately making Jianan drop his enemy of private enterprise position. He acknowledges the beverage regardless of whether he for the most part doesn't have liquor and offers his administrations as a nursery worker, which Duo Yu acknowledges. Frustrated by seeing he isn't a man she thought he was, Xia Zhu says a final farewell to him. In a little while, Duo Yu has his most memorable gathering with his new venture organization and orders them to put resources into a lot of dusk businesses that could be closed during any time now. Just from that point onward, an insane man attempts to get assets for his abnormal innovation. A machine that allows you to swim ashore. Team Yu gives him cash also prior to inquiring as to whether any other individual had a fantasy, so he can subsidize them generally, regardless of how ludicrous they are. The next day, while Duo Yu is having a back rub, the masseuse Shasha attempts to lay down with him and doesn't take no for a response. As she corners him against a sculpture, Xia Zhu shows up to help Duo Yu to remember their next gathering, saving him in the nick of time. They join Mr. Yin and Mr. Lai on the golf field, which his group will use to prepare, and Duo Yu sees Shasha there with them, finding she had been employed by Yin and Lai to keep an eye on him and inspire him to lose the test. Team Yu welcomes the two men to lunch, yet since the standards say he can treat his workers and some other costs would emerge from his own pockets, he serves Yin and Lin momentarily. One of them cites some way of thinking told by the well-known financial specialist Mr. Lafitte, so Duo Yu chooses to pay a crazy measure of cash to carry him to China and eat with him. With Xia Zhu as translator between them, Duo Yu gets some information about the worst ventures he's at any point had on the grounds that he needs to have classes on business disappointments. Lafitte observes this solicitation exceptionally annoying, since he just trains individuals to succeed and leaves without attempting the food. Xia Zhu flies off the handle with Duo Yu for having been so inconsiderate and leaves also, yet he follows her with his vehicle while hearing her discussion about how she's viewed as the dark widow of the venture world on the grounds that each organization she's worked for failed, a reality she does exclude from her resume and thinks will get her terminated. Couple Yu thinks of it as something worth being thankful for however, and expresses that while different organizations might call her a dark widow, for his purposes, she's his organization's mascot. Team Yu keeps on burning through cash in insane ways, having a worker for each and every little piece of his everyday daily schedule. His mindset falls nonetheless when he hears every one of the speculations he picked severely deliberately have really been fruitful and are giving him significantly more cash. In the wake of sending his representatives away, Duo Yu pitches a fit in the gathering room, reviling his karma. Yin and Lai see this news on television and giggle at how seriously Duo Yu is doing with the test. In the wake of having a bad dream about consuming the cash and meeting his subsequent granddad, Duo Yu is awakened by Qiang Zhuang, who needs to acquaint him with a close buddy of his to check whether there's space for him in the group. When Duo Yu sees the man with a terrible eye and a modest decision of garments, he employs him on the spot. Feeling exceptionally thankful, Qiang Zhuang guarantees they'll try sincerely and perhaps one day they can celebrate with firecrackers, giving Duo Yu a thought. In the interim, Xia Zhu is enjoying her birthday alone in her loft with a little cake she got for herself until Jianan appears out of the blue. In the wake of giving her blossoms, he takes her cake and starts eating it without requesting authorization, while telling Xia Zhu he has a thought for a book as a top priority and he'd see the value in her asking Duo Yu for reserves. Xia Zhu's answer is crushing the cake all over prior to throwing him out and going to see Duo Yu for some business matters. He doesn't let her discussion about work this evening however, he simply shows her the unexpected he's ready for her, a large number of firecrackers enlightening the sky all around the city. Whenever Xiaozhu specifies her birthday, Duo Yu imagines this is her current, when he really had no clue about the date. While she is very moved by the signal, she actually lets him know they can't date since they're from various universes, and she'll just consider him to be an uncle or sibling. In a little while, Xiaozhu finds there are banners with her face all around the city that Duo Yu has put up to persuade her to allow him an opportunity. There likewise are promotions on television and the radio requesting exactly the same thing. This puts the consideration of general society on her, who chase after her to take selfies with her. She calls Duo Yu to deal with the issue, yet he simply welcomes her to a show as opposed to tuning in, so Xiaozhu hangs up on him and takes a taxi while concealing her face. At the point when the driver stops the vehicle at the red light, a similar traffic extortionist from recently appears and claims to be harmed once more, causing Xiaozhu to acknowledge Duo Yu hadn't been lying, all things considered. Seeing him with new eyes, she shows up at the inn and acknowledges Duo Yu's show greeting, saying she might want to realize him better. The show ends up being a special arrangement in the lodging with her #1 vocalist. In the wake of moving and taking pictures with him, Duo Yu takes Xiaozhu out for supper, then they play soccer for certain children at the recreation area and have a wonderful walk together by the waterway. In the meantime, Yin and Lai call Jianan and recruit him to assist them with causing Duo Yu to lose the test. Discussing Duo Yu, he falls under more pressure when he sees his soccer group celebrating as opposed to preparing, and Qiang Zhuang illuminates him the organization has made another billion. In the wake of punching his companion, Duo Yu hurls himself entirely into the pool to quiet his nerves and keeping in mind that recollecting all that he's advanced up to this point, he gets a thought. Subsequent to getting Mr. Jin's endorsement, he makes a unique show at the shopping center reporting his new undertaking, a fat protection program. You just compensation yuan for it, and the organization will repay you for each gram you might lose. The program is a triumph, which makes Yin and Lai insane, however they can't actually make a difference with it on the grounds that as Jin makes sense of, protection is a lawful business, and what Duo Yu thought of is in fact not foundation. A tremendous measure of individuals join and begin practicing all once again the city, in some cases under the direction of Duo Yu himself. Exercise centers are packed, and individuals start to utilize options like ordinary steps and, surprisingly, the land swimming machines. This task procures Duo Yu an honor as Philanthropic of the Year, and when he goes up to the stage to get it, he attempts to clear up he's not doing this for help individuals, but since of business reasons, however no one treats him in a serious way. At the point when the day of the soccer match at long last comes, the players of the Hengtai group guarantee they'll break a record and make a 2-digit number of objectives. The majority of the arena is supporting them, while Daxiang just has a little segment of fans among the group, however they actually figure out how to make a dramatic appearance by showing up in helicopters. When the match starts, Qiang Zhuang claims to be harmed, so the main Hengtai player gets red-checked, providing them with a benefit of 1 additional player. Unfortunately this isn't sufficient, and during the principal half, Hengtai scores 8 objectives, while Daxiang makes 0. Couple Yu figures they ought to essentially prevent them from scoring 2 digits to keep some nobility, so during the final part, they attempt a few absurd strategies like framing a circle of players around the adversary. This is as yet insufficient to prevent them from making the 10th objective, so the Daxiang goes for their last and most frantic system, placing all players before their objective to stop any approaching balls, regardless of whether they need to utilize their countenances or crotches to accomplish it. In the meantime, in the crowd, Xiaozhu observes Jianan and lets him know his installments have been absent on the desk work, which he has been doing intentionally to cause it to seem like Duo Yu is spending short of what he is. Worn out on hearing her shield him, Jianan at last comes clean with her about the game, claims Duo Yu is simply utilizing her, and attempts to win her back, yet Xiaozhu hits him with her satchel and leaves the arena, expecting to tell Mr. Jin pretty much this. Jianan pursues her, following her into a few obscure pieces of the area. Back to the match, the Daxiang group is safeguarding the objective with the end result of injuries and dying. This assurance acquires the compassion of the crowd, who starts supporting them, and, surprisingly, their mentor attempts to join the match when they run out of substitutes, however he slips on a water bottle and is out of the game before he could in fact do anything. Fortunately, having one another and their recollections as a group along with the public's help is enough for them to hold tight until the end and not let a solitary objective more occur. At the point when the ref closes the game at 0-9, the entire arena celebrates, as though Daxiang had won, since preventing such a significant group from arriving at 2 digits feels like a triumph. In the festival, Duo Yu gets a call from Xiaozhu's telephone, yet there's a baffling voice on the opposite stopping point letting him know he's grabbed his better half, sending an image to demonstrate it. Couple Yu thinks this is one more arrangement by Yin and Lai, so he employs a few crooks to make them admit, yet they just concede to having recruited Jianan to counterfeit the bills, nothing else. Pair Yu gets one more call from the hijacker then, showing him how he's driving Jianan over the edge of a structure and taking steps to do likewise to Xiaozhu in the event that he doesn't pay 10 million preceding 6 o'clock. Team Yu currently is experiencing the same thing, since, supposing that he pays to save Xiaozhu, he'd disrupt the norms of the game and lose his second granddad's fortune. What he cannot deny is that this isn't genuine. It's the third and last test his granddad left him. He needs to demonstrate he thinks often more about a human existence than cash. On the off chance that he does, he wins the test. Jianan and Xiaozhu are fine, and the hijacker is simply Mr. Jin, who puts stock in Duo Yu and is certain he will come through. As the hours pass in any case, Duo Yu spends them drinking and singing at the karaoke and doesn't appear on schedule. At 6 o'clock, Mr. Jin and Xiaozhu prepare to leave, feeling rather frustrated. However, when they're going to use the stairwell, they observe Duo Yu crying with his packs of cash, prepared to trade them for Xiaozhu's life. Mr. Jin praises him on breezing through the assessment and plays the last message the granddad left for Duo Yu, making him can't help thinking about why he never got hitched or had children when he was so rich. Mr. Jin uncovers then he was the granddad's life partner. Numerous months after the fact, Duo Yu and an extremely pregnant Xiaozhu return from going all over the planet. Presently they've had sufficiently fun, they're prepared to give all their cash, yet they interfere with their administrative work process when they understand they need to keep in any event some for their future child. Several beginnings making a rundown of things they need, and keeping in mind that it begins pretty essential, it becomes loaded up with an adequate number of lavish things that will wind up with them giving nothing.